297 Pokemon made it into the Paldea region. Did your favorite Pokemon make the Dex cut? Let's take a look. So a couple days ago, someone actually leaked all of the index Pokedex images of the 297 Pokemon that are returning to Paldea, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of fly through them and talk about them briefly, of the Pokemon that made the Dex and which ones you can expect in the game, officially confirmed through the data mine. So let's just dive in. We've got Pikachu, of course, and Raichu. Who would have thought? Not surprising there. Jigglypuff makes it, and we've got Wigglytuff as well. Venonat makes it for the first time, I think, on the Switch, if I'm not mistaken, outside of Let's Go, which is cool, often forgotten. And of course, Venomoth, we'd love to see it. You love to see Venonat and Venomoth. Diglett, of course, makes it, and we know that it's a convergent species. Wiglet makes it as well. And there's your Doug Trio, and spoilers, there's Dino, too. Meowth, the little cat, makes it, but in its Cantonian form, and Persian does, too. Chasing down a Starly there. Psyduck scattered throughout the region in the little ponds and lakes that you're gonna find, as well as its evolution Golduck. A lot of Gen 1 representation, of course. You've got Mankey and Primeape, and perhaps a new evolution of those. You've got Growlithe yelling at a Dreadnought, so little spoilers later. And then regular Arcanine from Kanto making it. Slowpoke looking cool, lounging around, and Slowbro makes it. And you can obviously see Shelter in the background, as we're gonna get to. Magnemite looking great with his brand new textures, and Magneton, of course, floating around. Grimer, straight chilling by some runes, and Muck, hanging out with a bunch of Grimers. Why not? Shelter, as we just saw, made it. Under the Sea, and Cloyster, getting some nice, nice sun poking through. Ghastly floating around, and then Haunter. So obviously Gengar chilling by some candles. You've got Drowsy, you've got Hypno, no surprises there. Voltorb and Electrode rolling down the stairs. We've got our Cantonian forms. And then Chansey, here to bring some eggs and some luck and some joy to every trainer that walks by. Scyther, of course, makes it. And to avoid spoilers, Tauros makes it as well, but I'll kind of skip through that one. Magikarp flopping around, and Gyarados. Ditto makes it into the game, despite the fact that there's not traditional breeding. And Eevee and the Evolutions, of course. No surprises there. No new Evolution, though. Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite by a Lighthouse. How fitting is that? And then we move to Generation 2. So overall, really good representation from Generation 1. I was pretty happy to see a lot of those Pokemon make the Dex. There's a few I would have liked to see, but overall, I'm pretty much happy. I mean, I would have liked to see Pinsir get some love, of course, and I'm a big Beedrill fan. I feel like Beedrill's been kind of forgotten the last couple of years, but it kind of is what it is. Starmie's another one that feels like it could have easily fit, or like Kingler and Krabby, but I mean, he did just get a Gigantamax form, so I can't be too upset there. Lots of baby Pokemon playing. Igglybuff, Mareep, and Flaffy, and Ampharos. Again, chilling by a Lighthouse. You'll love to see it. You've got Squovet, Psyduck, and of course, Marill. Azumarill, and of course, Azurill will make it. Sudowoodo, and you'll see Bonsly later. Hoppips, they are floating everywhere. Skiploom, of course, and Jumpluff. Then you've got Sunkerns and Sunfloras, no surprises there. We saw those in previous trailers. And our new Paldean Wooper friend. Espeon and Umbreon, you know I love me some Umbreon, no doubt about it. And there's a murder of Murkrows right there. Slowking, Misdreavus, and Girafarig, of course, this brand new evolution for Farigiraf. Pineco hanging from trees, and my boy Fortress, I love it. Huge wins there. Dunsparce, Quillfish, and Scizor looking so good, dude. I feel like the textures on the steel types are phenomenal. And there's your boy Heracross. I love to see it. Very excited about Heracross. Sneasel makes it. Teddiursa, Ursaring, and obviously we'll see with Pokemon Home some of those other Pokemon coming like Ursaluna. Delibird and Houndour, Houndoom, Fanpy, and Donphan, as we just saw the new Paradox Donphan forms released. Stantler, and again, we'll probably see Weirdeer. And then you've got Blissey and Hippini. You've got Larvitar, Pupitar, and Tyranitar. So if you're a fan of this pseudo-legendary, that's your boy right there. Wingull and Pelipper's floating around doing their thing. Ralts, Curlia, Gardevoir, you'll love to see it. Surskit chilling on some ponds, just skating around everywhere. And my boy Masquerain getting some love. I love to see that as well. Shroomish and Breloom, we don't really see these two Pokemon very often, so nice to see my boy Breloom get some love here. And then Slackoth's line with Slacking. Very interesting Pokemon. I'm curious how this is gonna function in competitive given its kind of horrible ability, but incredible attack stat. Makuhita, Hariyama, and then you've got Azurill, Sableye looking so menacing, Metatype floating above, and Metacham. Then you've got Gulpin, Swalot, Numel, and Camerupt, of course, making the Dex, of course, and Torkoal, which we saw through Mela, Team Star Team. Spoink looking adorable, and then Grumpig. Then you've got Cacnea and Cacturne chilling in the desert. Swablu and Altaria floating around. A nice little rainbow behind them and a waterfall. You'll love to see that. Zangoose and Seviper, of course, an iconic scene in the Pokemon franchise. You can't hate on that. And then somehow Barboach and Whiscash are just gonna be in some seas and stuff, some rivers that no one's really gonna want to catch. Shuppet sticking its tongue out. I love to see that. And Banette, of course. Tropius! The Bananasaur has made it! You love to see it. Snorunt shivering, Glalie, Luvdisc are just kissing in the bay. And then you've got your boy Bagon, Shelgon, and Salamence looks so cool in its Pokedex screenshot. So another pseudo-legendary here from Hoenn. Then we move to Sinnoh, and we've got a nice Sinnoh dex here. Some really cool stuff. Starly, Staravia, Staraptor, obviously looking really good. Kricketot and Kricketune. I love me some Dee-Lee-Lee-Lee-Doo-Whoop. Then we've got Shinx and Luxray and Luxio. I got them backwards, but you got the point. There is a female Combee, they exist. And Vespiquen, of course. Really surprised to see some of these Gen 4 Pokemon, Pachirisu, Floatzel, and Weasel. I think this is how they kind of connected Legends Arceus for newer players, right? Because a lot of these Pokemon are familiar, like Shellos and Gastrodon, Blue Shellos, Best Shellos, Drifloon and Drifblim. Love that. Mismagius, obviously, Honchkrow, and of course Stunky, chasing some things around, and Skunk Tank. Then you've got Bronzor and Bronzong, nice little steel types there. Bonsly chilling on a seat, and Happiny. Then you've got Spiritomb makes the dex. I don't even know how you find it, but it's there. Gabite, Gibble in reverse order, and Garchomp doing the Naruto run around. Riolu, that's gotta be one of the coolest dex shots I've seen. Lucario, just looking very epic. And then you've got little Hippopotas and Hippowdon, of course. Croagunk chilling by the mud, and Toxicroak ready to go. Finneon, Lumineon, the worst Pokemon ever, somehow made the cut. Snover and Abomasnow, straight chilling. Weavile, looking very, very epic, not gonna lie. Magnezone, chilling, and I think that's where Iono's gym is gonna be. And then you've got some, some starters, Leafeon, Glaceon, or some evolutions rather. And then Gallade, of course. Frostlass makes it, about to steal that dude's soul. And then Rotom, just straight chilling around the vending machine, because why not? Petalil and Lilligant, and we'll probably see Hisui and Lilligant through Pokemon Home. Basculin makes it, and of course, important Pokemon because of Basculegion. Sandile, Crocodile, and Krokorok. I did that in reverse order as well. Zorua makes it, and we've also seen Hisui and Zoroark in trailers, so I think we'll probably see both of those. Gothita, Gotharita, and Gothitelle. This is a Pokemon I quite like because of Shadow Tag. It's a fun Pokemon to use in competitive. Very fun, actually. We've got Deerling and Sawsbuck, all the different seasons as well, which is cool. Foongus, there's a Foongus, Amoongus, of course, you gotta have those. And then Alomomola with Luvdisc, because they're not related, but they look very similar. Tynamo, Electric, and Electros. Love to see Electros in this game. That was already previously shown in trailers, but a great win there. And then Axew, I gotta ask you guys a question. Which Pokemon are you most excited to see return in the Pokedex? Let me know in the comment section below. Fracture and Haxorus. We've got Cubchoo and Beartic. This is a test to see if I remember all their names. Crocodile, of course, Pawniard, Bisharp, and maybe something special with that line. We've got Rufflet and Braviary, and of course, again, the tie into Hisui and Braviary, so you can see that kind of consistency there. Basically, all of the Pokemon that got new forms in Hisui are gonna obviously have representation here in Paldea. Dino, Zvilis, and Hydreigon. You saw Toxtricity there. Larvesta and Volcarona chillin'. And then, of course, Fletchling, Fletchinder, and Talonflame. That is an epic Pokedex shot. Then you've got Scatterbug, and Spupa, and Vivian. Apparently, this is the only pattern that you can get in the game as well, by the way. They don't have, like, the multiple patterns, although you could probably transfer them in. Litleo and Pyroar, both male and female. And then Flabebe, Floette, and Florges hanging out in the flowers. Skidoo makes its first Switch debut since Pokemon X and Y on the DS. Skidoo and Go-Goat, Ram and Horns. Skrelp and Dragalge, I love those. And then Clauncher and Cloyitzer, some Gen 6 rep. You've got Sylveon as your evolution, and then Hawlucha just tackling, flying, pressing a Hariyama. The Dene, the second worst Pokemon of all time, has made it in, as well as Gumi, Sliggoo, and Goodra. That is your Colossian Goodra. Obviously, you'll see some representation from Hisui Goodra through Pokemon Home. You've got Klefki, Jangle, some Bergmites, and Avalugs. Again, we talk about the Hisui representation here. Flapple, chilling with some Noibats and Noivern. Yungoos and Gumshoes, I would have preferred they be left out. Crabrawler and Crabominable. Snowman, baby. You got Oricorio, all the forms chilling in different spots. Rockruff, Lycanroc, and then, of course, on to Marini, chasing down a Pincurchin. Toxapex getting chased by a Bruxish. These are great shots. Mudbray, Mudsdale, Fomantis, Lurantis, poor little Kricketot. We got a Salazzle just cornering, or Salandit rather, cornering the Combees, and then Salazzle's just standing there looking menacing. Bonsuite, Steenie, and Serena make the cut, as well as Oranguru and Passimian, of course, from Sun and Moon, the Alola region. We got Sandygast and Palossand, love to see that. And then Kamala sleeping in a tree. Mimikyu, of course, and Bruxish. Could have probably done without Bruxish. Squovet, Greedent, and then, of course, Rookie D, Corvisquire, and Corviknight. Then you move to Choodle and Dreadnought, which we saw earlier, which I think this actually is Shell Smash from a previous video. Roly-Poly, Carkol, and Colossal. I'm a big Colossal fan, so bring that on. Applin, and then you've got Flapple and Appleton. I love that. I love Flapple. Probably my favorite Pokemon from Galar. And then you've got Silicobra and Sandaconda. Surprised that those made it. Arrokuda and Arrokuda and Barrascuda. That's the name. Took me a minute there. Toxel is a baby Pokemon, and Toxtricity jamming out both forms low-key. And Sinistea with the authentic stamp, it looks like, on that one. And then Poltegeist, of course, raising its hat. Hatina, Hattrem, and Hatterene all making it by the waterfall. Impidimp, Morgrem, and Grimmsnarl chilling in some snowy town. And then Fallinx actually makes it with Pincurchin, as we saw earlier, being chased by that Marini. That's kind of a cool little deck shot there. Snowman, Frostmoth, beautiful. You love to see them. And Stonejourner wandering in the desert. Ice-Cube chilling by the water. And then you've got Indeedee, of course, which is going to be big for Psychic Terrain. Kufant and Caporaja, so you got to have your Elephant Bro. Dreepies, Dracloaks, and Dragapults make it. And that, my friends, is your Pokedex in just about 13 minutes, so how about that? So we're landing around 400-ish Pokemon when all is said and done. You've got 297 returning, you've got over about 100 and some coming back. So you're landing at about 400. Pokemon Home is gonna expand to that, DLC is gonna expand to that. So if your favorite Pokemon didn't make the cut, just hold off a few months, maybe a year. I think by this time next year, we'll probably have 2 DLCs like we did for Sword and Shield, and we'll probably have a ton more Pokemon added to the Pokedex, which is going to be expansive for competitive and much, much more. I know a lot of people dislike the Dex cuts. I will tell you, when they first did it in, I think it was Sun and Moon, it was a really positive change for competitive because it really centralized the metagame and allowed for, surprisingly, actually more diversity, believe it or not, even though it sounds counterintuitive, like less Pokemon, more diversity, but I really felt like it did in competitive, and I'm looking forward to that this year as well with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown, really simple stuff, and hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.